Welcome to Playboy Mansion. My name is Hugh Hefner. It's been a hectic several weeks, and I have not been able to really continue with my podcast, my life. But I would like to kind of finish it before I go to this beautiful trip that we are planning to the Balkans, and we call it the Peace and Reconciliation Tour. So in order for me really to introduce myself, I felt I should really talk a little bit about my life and who I am. So this is why I've done my life podcast. I do apologize for lying down. I am exhausted. It's been a long day. I cooked the whole day, took care of the kids, took care of myself. This evening I'm playing a show, so I really need to rest a little bit. So, I'm killing two birds with one stone. I've already said thus far about my life in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I spoke to you about my early childhood with my family. I spoke to you about my family, about my elementary school and my high school. And in this video I would like to focus on just 2 years. This is from 1994 to 1996. As I said earlier, I was born in 1975. In 1981 I started elementary school. In 1990 I started high school. In 1994 I graduated from high school, and in 1996 I moved to Canada. From 1994 to 1996, I did not exist. I was a persona non grata, or in Latin, it means a person without a country, a person who does not exist. The war in former Yugoslavia started. It never really started, or it never really ended, but officially in 1991, in Bosnia 1992, and it ended in 1995, I guess. So when I joined former Yugoslavian military high school, I was a Yugoslav. By the time I graduated in 1994, Yugoslavia did not exist anymore, and I just could not be promoted to an officer rank. So they didn't want to have a Bosnian, in charge of Serbian army, which is complete bullshit. I really, never understood the division between, Bosnians, Croatians, and Serbians. Just like I don't understand the division between, Americans and Canadians. Culturally we are so similar, physically we are so similar, yet we believe we are completely different because we have different political system, different banking system, or we have free healthcare. These differences are political rather than cultural. Essentially, we are the same. If you listen to Nirvana in Seattle, just like you listen to Nirvana in Newfoundland and Labrador. Pearl Jam, Bryan Adams, Celine Dion, to name a few. There's so much more that unites us than it divides us. And then, just like everywhere else in the world, the divisions are politically motivated or economically motivated. Look at Africa. Somebody took a bloody ruler and said, okay, this is a border. The border cut through several different tribes who speak several different languages. They put them in one country or another country just randomly. Like, this is Sudan, this is South Sudan. It's all political, of course. And, money is behind everything. I strongly believe that capitalism, does not work anymore, and it really has outlived its usefulness. It's really time for us to reach that communist state, high level of existence, of full integration of humanity and AI. That's the only way to do it. which really does nothing to do or has nothing to do with this podcast that I'm doing in my life, but it's okay. So yes, in 1994 I finished high school and I could not start work, so it took me 2 years to uh, go from Serbia to Canada. In 1996 my life starts all over again. For those 2 years, I had the best and the worst time ever. I just, like I said, did not exist. And I would go to see a doctor or a dentist, and they would say, "We cannot treat you because you don't exist. How can we give you a prescription? Like, we cannot claim that this medicine will go to a good use or not." On the other side, people I've met felt truly, connected with me, because most people did not want to have the war. And I was there to remind them what was going on just maybe a couple of 100 kilometers away from their hometown. Uh, so every time I would meet people, and they would find out that I was Bosnian, and that was easy because I had such a thick accent. And Bosnians definitely speak differently than Serbians. So those of us who come from the Balkans understand that the moment you open your mouth, people know that you are different. Just like here in English, in Newfoundland, the moment I start speaking English, people know that I'm not a Newfoundlander. Even though I live here, I've lived here for such a long time and this is my home, but I'm not the original or the native Newfoundlander, whatever that means. It just means that I was not born here. So same thing in Serbia. But, because of that kind of like position, I was able to meet everyone, and mostly marginalized members of Serbian society, which were musicians. And namely rock and roll musicians. The folk musicians in Serbia have always had a great time. We love folk music, and just like here in Newfoundland, if you're a folk musician, you have so many gigs open to you, you have so many places to play. But if you're a rock and roll musician, you can play for your aunt and your uncle, and maybe your grandmother will show up. It's a kind of culture that's always been marginalized, because rock and roll is loud, is dirty, is obnoxious, it's in your face, it's telling you about things that you don't really want to hear. Rock and roll is not Rolling Stones. Rock and roll is not Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's too polished. Rock and roll could be Nirvana. That, when the rape in Bosnia was used as a weapon of war, Nirvana performed a song called "Rape Me," for the victims of the rape used in former Yugoslavia, again as a weapon of war. More than 50,000 women were raped, more than 10,000 men that nobody even talks about because of the stigma. That's rock and roll. This is what I sing about. My songs are evil everywhere and things like that. Even though I'm a very positive person, I am blessed. I'm beyond blessed. I've had such an amazing life. Now when I'm thinking about everything that happened, I realize how rich my life has been, especially with friends. I've met so many amazing people along the way. And I think that I'm truly rich. I'm blessed. I'm grateful for sure. And I truly believe that we're not this capitalist, pigs that we're meant to be, that we're led to believe that we are. No, I truly believe that we are altruistic human beings who want to help each other. You can see that with parents, you can see that with lovers, and you can see that in friendship. So from 94 to 96, even though I did not exist, I had the best life in Serbia. People helped me everywhere, and I always had a place to stay. I always had food to eat. There were days when I would go without food for days or without a place to stay for days, but I still somehow managed to, survive. One of the ways to kind of save myself from, the Serbian propaganda, the police, and, being drafted into the war to fight for Serbs, was to actually just hang out with rock and roll musicians. Uh, Even to this day, my friends from a band called Goblini or Goblins are active, and they play punk rock music in Serbia. Uh, During that time, I used to go to like shows with them, and we used to like hang out quite a bit. We drank a lot, of course, did some light drugs, and had so many late night burgers, because that's what you do at 3 a.m. in the morning. When you finish everything, you go for a late burger, which were homemade. Oh my god, they were absolutely amazing. They're still there, so I can't wait for this December, to do the same thing, minus the drinking and the drugs. I'm too old for that. I remember one incident. This is in 95, I believe. My friend Goblins have released their second album, and they had a big show in Belgrade, the capital city of Serbia, to promote it. So we went there, of course, together. Stayed at some friend's place, and then in the morning we showed up there. They had a press conference around 1 o'clock. So the singer and a couple of musicians who were also refugees from Croatia were there, and I was outside with a boy from Serbia who was their lead player boy. I was a boy too. I was, 19 years old, 20 years old. He was about the same. He was the lead guitar player, but he was too young to be at the press conference, so two of us were outside smoking a joint when we heard some commotion around the cars. But we wanted to finish the joint first, and by the time we got there, somebody had broken into the cars and stole all their equipment, the guitars, and some brand new shoes that the members of another band called Atheist Rap bought and left in the same car. So they stole brand new shoes and the guitars. Back in the day, cars had these kind of like roll-up windows, and the side window was kind of looking, we call the butterfly window, looked like a triangle. So what they did, they broke the triangle with an elbow and pushed the arm inside, unlocked the door, and just opened the door and took the guitars out. My God, so we were like, what do we do? And my friend Shetka was like, we gotta call the police. And like, we're both stoned, but like, I'll go call the police. You stay here. I don't know if I should have stayed there or he should have called the police, but that's what we did. So I went in to call the police, and the moment I opened my mouth, I realized, shit, they're gonna figure out I'm a bloody refugee. They're not gonna take me seriously. Plus, if they find out that I'm Muslim, oh my God, there's no end. And that's exactly what happened. The police questioned me for like 10 minutes. Who I was, what I was doing in Serbia. Do I have a refugee status? Am I a terrorist? Or things like that. Did I steal the guitars? Who put me up to it? Like, I was like, man, just come over, like, help us. My friends are playing tonight. We need to figure this out. They said, okay, stay there. Don't you go anywhere. I was like, where can I fucking go? I'm a person non grata. I cannot stay here. I cannot go back home. I really have nowhere to go. When they showed up, of course, first they, asked, for who is this guy? Who is this Eldin guy? Come over, Then they talked to me again for 10 minutes, questioning me about where I was born, what I'm doing there, do I have any weapons, blah, blah. Because, it's just the police sees somebody that, they should be fighting, I guess, against or something like that. So they didn't know how to handle, me. So anyways, after questioning, they go to see the cars, and we try to explain that, they broke the side mirrors or the side glass so they can put in the arm. But they said like, no, you don't have to explain things to me. I'm a bloody police officer. I know what happened. So they walked around the car a little bit, and after a few minutes, this guy said, but man, how did they take those big guitars through this small window? and we lost it, of course. Uh, then they got so mad, like what's going on, So Shetka, my friend, tried to explain. Well, they broke the side glass with an elbow, and then put the like hand in, open the door, like I just unlocked it. So they immediately went after him, like, how do you know that? Like, oh my God. And he's like, no, no, it wasn't me, I'm not a thief. My guitar was inside as well, so they kind of let it slide. And anyways, after like 30 minutes of all that, they said, well, thanks very much for, reports. We'll let you know when anything happens. And, by that time, our friends came out from the press conference. They were saying, but, are there any chances of you finding out anything? They said, not really. There's a bloody war going on. We don't really care about some guitars. Uh, the singer told us later on that they actually invited him to the police station, and they just showed him some guitars that they had, like, from some other cases. It's like, well, why don't you take some of these here? A guitar is a guitar. There were some old, broken, damaged guitars. They were not even electric guitars. But the police was like, well, we did what we could, and you can't really blame them. There's so much going on. So they managed to somehow, get the guitars from their friends, the pedals, the cables, all that stuff. Played a concert which was amazing, full house, 500-600 people, 1,000 people. I'm not sure how many, but there was a lot of people there. I don't really remember the concert, to be honest. We were so high, we smoked so many joints, of course. There was a girl, I remember, I was making out with some girl the whole time. It was such a cool rock and roll experience to me. Like that album release would be that girl. Nothing really happened. We were just kind of happy to be there. And then she disappeared at the end of the concert, or I disappeared, or something happened. I have no idea. I do know that we ended up going back home the day after. Shetka, my friend, completely missed the city. The bus took him further away to another city, and then he came back, and then he realized he left the guitar on, on the bus. It was pretty messy, but we had such a great time, and I really thought I could stay there forever, but the war was going on. I really was not a welcome person, there because of the political issues, not because of the people. That's exactly the whole point of those 2 years. I realized that people are never the problem, and us preaching to the choir is not going to change anything. People are good. We are good. We become evil when the politics get involved. The money, bloody capitalism. My Newfound Reality podcast definitely offers a solution to all this bullshit. Another person who saved my life was a BBC correspondent from Rio de Janeiro, who was also a Bosnian who came to Bosnia just before the war to pick up his law degree diploma, and gets involved in the war, and two of us ended up like working together in some cold storages, selecting some raspberries for sale, and working construction. And he told me, look man, screw raspberries and construction, go to Canada. I'll fill out an application for you. And he did, and he told me, where do you want to go? I told him, yeah, let's go to the capital city, Toronto. He said, no, Toronto is not capital, Ottawa is. I didn't even know that there was another city in Canada apart from Toronto. He filled out an application. I got a call back, and they told me, you're going to St. John's. Took me a while to find it. I looked at the map and I was like, wow, man, California, Bermuda, Hawaii. I thought it would be like a tropical island. Little did I know about Titanic and the freezing Atlantic. But just like in Serbia, I met so many amazing people, so many amazing experiences that I don't regret coming here second time now. But nevertheless, here we go. We are now at 1996. My elementary is finished, my high school is finished. I'm about to go to Canada, go to university. I'm going to continue with a few more episodes of my life, and then we can start our brand new podcast, which is the Peace and Reconciliation Tour. Love you all. Thank you for being a part of my journey. Big hi from my sofa. See you in the next video.